cross the gun line. Yeah, you know that I'm on my grind. Yeah, I'm self-paid, self-employed. I gotta get paid, homie, I gotta get paid.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of SelfPaid. I'm Dom.
It's Alex here.
Oh yeah. I know we kind of been lagging on this. I did an interview with Sweet Talks, and you guys kind of been waiting for this for a minute. It's finally here. We've already recorded like six, seven, yeah, like 6-7 episodes already. We're redoing the intro, so that way it's kind of more like up to date. So you're gonna see the intro first. We're gonna kind of talk about us, who we are. We're gonna also tell you like what to expect in this podcast.
Yeah, what the podcast is about.
Yeah, what the podcast is about. And then you're gonna see us maybe like, I don't know, I think I might be shaved in one of them or something. Yeah. So you're gonna see a couple episodes that we have already filmed with great people. And I hope you guys love them. But basically, I don't know if you want to talk about what the podcast is gonna be about.
Yeah. So this has been something that was in the works for a minute, huh?
Yeah,
I think
maybe like since
it was
last year.
over a year ago. I think it was like a year and a half ago where
it was in talks.
It was in the talks, and then we're all about taking action. So we bought. There's a lot of like crap behind there. Well, we bought everything. We didn't know what we were doing. We bought everything, and it actually sat. It sat in our office for like a good 6 months, I think, until we were just like, you know what, let's make it happen. So we did that.
It sat in the other office first, no?
Yeah, we were at the other office.
Yeah. So right now we're at the HQ of Paxton Energy, as you can see. We dedicated one room specifically for this.
Yeah.
It's a pretty decent room, so it fits a good amount of people. But go ahead.
But yeah, so I guess where we drew inspiration was I used to share a lot of videos with Dom about like people giving back, and I don't know, that kind of was something that we always wanted to do. We would watch YouTube videos during COVID all the time about like what it was like to give back. So this is kind of where it stemmed from, and so hopefully we can take it to that point. But right now what we're trying to do is give you as much info as we can about where, I guess, how we got here. And like by no means are we talking about we're not Elon Musk, obviously, but we're much further than, I guess, where we started. And so that's kind of the process I wanted to kind of share with you guys, and that Don wanted to share with you guys. So yeah. I really think you'll enjoy it. So
yeah, you're gonna hear a lot of stories. We have a lot of great people that we have already done some recordings with. Their stories are just phenomenal of how, where they came from, their background, the stuff that they had to overcome, and to be in the positions that they're at today. Some of them obviously male, female, a lot of them young, but we're gonna get a mix of everything. So hopefully you guys get a feel for the podcast, and you guys enjoy it, take something out of it, whether you guys learn or not. Both Alex and I already agreed that we're not in here for the money. If it makes money, great. But a lot of that money is actually gonna be donated away to you guys as well. What we wanted to do with this podcast is kind of like, I don't know if you guys seen those TikToks that go around helping people like with money. We've actually already started that with Paxton Energy. So if you want to explain the two things that we do for Paxton right now too.
Yeah, so right now, I think when I first started, I'm going to kind of go into who I am. I am an immigrant. I came here when I was 6, flew from South Korea. Obviously, we had no money when we came here. I think my mom was telling me a story how I think she had like 10 grand in her name. And again, I'm not saying I was in the worst position. I know there are families that come here with nothing, but I think if I remember properly, that's what she told me. We lived in like one of her friend's master bedroom, the 4 of us, for about 4 weeks. It was a tiny room. We lived there about 4 weeks, and then we moved to our first apartment. But long story short, I grew up, obviously this is my second language, and I grew up where we had nothing, and my mom worked hard and got to make us, I guess we lived comfortably. I never worried about food, like not having food or a place to live. And my life kind of changed. I think, when was that? I think it was the same time around you. It was like 2009, 2008. We lost the house like a lot of people did. And it kind of like changed my entire life. of like what I was used to, and it kind of forced me to grow. But I think that's what it stems from. When I first started the company, I was very money hungry, right? I really, I don't know a better way to put it. I just wanted a life where I didn't have to worry about how much money I had in my bank account. And so that's kind of what drove me. But I think when I stopped focusing on money and I started focusing on how do I help others, and it sounds corny and you probably hear this all the time, but I think when I stopped focusing on how much money I was collecting, it actually grew more, right? And so two of the things that we do right now, we are corporate partners with Make-A-Wish Los Angeles. So every sale that we have, we donate a portion of it every quarter. And we also do, I take a portion of that also from all, and we go around and we film like little videos of us giving back, like getting random acts of kindness from other people, like strangers. And we try to bless them.
And it's probably the best feeling too, because it's like, you know, we ask like anybody for like $1, or if they can spot something, or if they can get us a drink, or you know, anything. And if they do something, then we give them like either 100, 200, you know, depending on the situation. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing too, especially for those of you listening that are interested in trying to, you know, start a business, or if you're trying to, I guess, change your life in a sense where financial freedom or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
It's a different feeling, obviously, like when you were there, and there's all the team is involved every time we give away. Obviously, it wouldn't be possible without them, but we do try to get everyone involved who do want to be a part of it. And you'll see that the common denominator is that every time they do so, they sit there and they say like, dude, it feels good. Mm-hmm. This feels better than making money, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of what we do right now for the company in terms of giving back, right? One of our core values is to give back, and so we try to live by that.
Yep.
And yeah, that's
yeah, and basically kind of going into how me and Alex kind of met. I mean, same thing from like when I was born. My father wasn't there when I was like born. He was locked up, and it wasn't until I maybe turned about like, I think it was 5 or 6 when he actually had like his third strike and he got sent away. And when he got out, he was going to be in Mexico. So my mom kind of grew up as a single mother at the time. We lived in an apartment, and I would have to go visit like my grandma, and I would basically live there Monday through Friday, or maybe the weekends or something like that. Oh yeah, Monday through Friday because of daycare basically. So I would go to school, Panorama. I used to grow up like on Blythe Street, if you guys are familiar with any of that. That was like where I basically grew up, and like my cousins raised me. I was a little silver-toothed kid, just active. But that's kind of like where I see myself more as my mom, because she's always been the one raising us. And then she met my stepdad, which is the person that held the roof over our head for a long period of time. But same thing, it wasn't all great until she met him. And then once she met him, he started getting more money, and he kind of like took us under his wing, which I'm always thankful for, of course. You know, we had we had decent things in our lives where we were able to be like, okay, you know, we're not too far from, you know, the bottom, but we're not all the way up there yet. And then around the same time, 2008, 2009, when everything was going crazy, we lost everything basically. Had to move back into a home with 5 of us in a 2-bedroom. And from there, it's like I remember you lived in the garage. Yeah, the garage. Oh yeah, that one too. So before that, I moved in like a halfway house, and then my dad started a food truck, so he kind of got a little bit of money back, and we moved into an actual house where we rented from. And I was living in the garage at that time. So that's when I was like already in high school, 16, and I was actually working. I met him in middle school, but we didn't become really that close. We knew of each other in middle school, and then we didn't really become that close until high school. I forgot what it was, but it was just like we hung out one time.
I don't even know, honestly.
Just changed it. Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard. We used to skate. Yeah. Right. And there's like rumors of like, yo, this dude ollied the 8 stair, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? And I don't know. We didn't really hang out. I think obviously like I had different. I was on a different, not a different path, but like I had different, like a different lifestyle. Not a lifestyle. What do you call it? Like, I don't know. We just had different schedules, right? And so I don't know what it was in high school.
I think it was just so I don't know why in high school we just hung out with a lot of Armenians because I don't know Granada, and then he had the same mutual friends, I had the same mutual friends, and it could have been even just hookah.
Yeah,
like, you know, like we would just get invited to hookah lounges and stuff like that. I don't know our first connection with that, but we always knew of each other. We always knew of each other, and then high school was really the point where we kind of like really connected, and yeah, we were just like nonstop after that. We were just really close with each other. We listened to the same music, where everything was kind of the same, and then started getting more like deeper, and then we started talking about like, oh, like, you know, I look up to my mom more than I do my dad, and then same thing with him. And from there it was just like, dang, we really have a really good connection. Like we just became brothers after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot can be found. Like with that being said, I think a lot can be found in situations where you don't, where you can't see in that moment where it might do you, I guess, do you well, right? Like I just had a conversation with a new guy we hired, and he's 19. Obviously now, I remember my 19th birthday like yesterday over here, 27. 27. Anywho, I was having the conversation because he's also an immigrant. He was born in Mexico, just like I was born in Korea. And there's a lot of the times where I was growing up, and I used to think like how much of a disadvantage that was to I guess just learning a new culture and whatnot. But I've come to find out that a lot of the times like that's leverage, right? And I think that being in that situation where, like, if you don't know this, but I actually was the one who told my dad, like, you need to divorce my mom, right? And at the time, it didn't really, it didn't mean much, right? Because it was just, I was, a lot of you guys might like relate, but it was a very toxic household. Like we had a nice house, we had nice cars, but we would come home and it would just be constant fighting, just straight yelling back and forth, and just a lot of, and so it came to a point where you guys might relate, but they might sit there and say, hey, I can't get a divorce because of you guys being the kids. And I was just tired of hearing that. So I made the decision where I was like, it doesn't help anybody. And so that happened. And there was a lot of times where I think that's when you're in middle school, so you're not really like a grown man, right? But it was during that time where I was like, okay, I have to kind of figure this out myself. And so I think the whole respect of like I really do think that moms like run the shit, right?
Yeah, facts.
So shout out single mothers.
Shout out single mothers for sure. But yeah. Same thing with like, the same kind of thing. Like my parents didn't, my stepdad and my mom, mind you, my stepdad came in when I was like, I don't know, a year or two, because obviously my real father wasn't there. So he's always been there. But when she had my little sister, with him, it was more like, I can't leave, I can't break this relationship up because I don't want to show my little sister, that a broken family. So she stayed, and it wasn't until she was leaving middle school and we're graduating high school where she finally made the decision to be like, all right, we're gonna split up. And then at the time, my mom had not much. She was a real estate agent, but she wasn't like doing great at it at that time. And then my dad was just starting his food truck and everything. And then that time was just like, I was 16, 17, working already. And then I was 17 with like 2-3 jobs, still going to school. I left for like a police academy. And then that's when like things kind of just shifted, and we had to move back in with my grandma. I was living in the house. She lived in the ADU in the back. And I was working like at LA Fitness at the time.
Before then though, we used to work together.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we like, I'm telling you, we've probably done a lot of stuff together that we might not even mention or skip. But in high school, I had about 3 jobs in high school, about 16, 17. And then I was working with him as a busser. I was also working the mall. And then I would help my dad on Fridays at the food truck. He got me the job at the busser because he was like, he's a waiter, and waiters like were making good at that time at that age.
Like, mind you, I started at $7.50 an hour.
Yeah.
At $7.50 an hour. So
now minimum wage is like $16.50.
Yeah, but I think similar story with me. I didn't have multiple jobs. I had one job, and it was completely like, I don't even remember, like there's like time limits that you can work in high school, right?
Oh yeah,
right. You can only
For a
work.
minor, you can
only work a certain amount of hours while you're in high school. I worked from 4 to 11 every day, so whatever hours that comes out to. But I did that, and then it was a little hole in the wall. I think that's kind of where I learned. It felt good in the very beginning, obviously, because that's when I was like, mind you, I was working, I don't know what that is, like 46 hours a week.
Yeah.
I was copying homework in the mornings, but that's, I think that my first paycheck it was literally 46 hours or something like that. And for 2 weeks, I made like $360. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But it gave me a little shot of like, okay, I got my own money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to kind of take that and I don't know, I guess build from there.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't, I guess the point of it is to show like most people aren't like gold, like sped, what is it called?
Like silver spoon?
Yeah, golden spoon, right?
Yeah.
Where they're not brought up with a golden spoon and I think that's your advantage. That is your leverage, right? And so that's a lot of what we'll talk about. And a lot of the guests that you'll see, they'll have similar stories where you'll start realizing that your situation might not be that bad, right? Yeah. And I hope that's what we're able to kind of bring to light for you guys listening, because every time I have conversations with new people that come into the office and, you know, whatever the case is, this is what I wish I had when I was that age, right? And again, I'm not saying that I know everything because I fuck up all the time, but that's what I hope we can show you. Obviously, if I'm wrong, I'm gonna tell you I'm wrong, but that's kind of where our heads are at, right? And so if we can provide even a little bit of
information,
knowledge that helps you, like that's the goal, right?
Yeah, and then we're not gonna hide anything either. Like, I felt like for a long time I kind of didn't want to drop this podcast because of what I was kind of going through with, like, I don't know if you're new to this or if you're not. I used to own a sneaker store on Melrose, Cookies and Kicks, and I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to drop anything because I mentioned a lot of things when I was at Cookies and Kicks, and I was just like, at the time I wasn't ready. It was something that kind of like just like, do I start talking about, you know, my success that everybody kind of sees and everything? But in December of 2022, like literally recently, a couple months ago, we had to let it go. Just something with partners and just financial decisions, investors kind of fucked everything over. And you know, he's been there my whole life, so he was the first person that, like, you know, I called and I was just like, hey, we got to meet, like, let's link. And then it was the first time I just like broke down and was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, everything just went crazy AWOL. And yeah, we're not gonna hide anything from you. And now to like look back, it's a story to tell, you know, like, you know, I feel like at my age, I had it at 23 and it was doing like major numbers, you know. I thought it was done for me. That I was gonna retire. I don't know if you guys saw that podcast that I went on, Sweet Talks, but the same investors that came on once offered me 1.1 million for my equity, and then I didn't turn it down. My partner turned it down without telling anybody. And then, yeah, those partners came back in and just bent everybody over and just fucked everybody. So that, you know, whether it's now on this podcast or if you want to watch Sweet Talks podcast, I can drop the link in the bio. I talk about it there, but obviously I'll talk about, you know, what if the opportunity comes up and I'm like, we'll talk about it. We're gonna be an open book. You know, I'm not scared to show you guys our failures because at the end of the day, to me, it wasn't a failure. It was a big lesson learned, and it taught me what I needed to know. Now I choose my partners wisely. I make sure I know who I go into partner or business with, because nobody's gonna put in the same effort as you if it was yours, you know. So yeah, well, stay tuned to this podcast. I hope you guys like it. I don't know what else you want to add. No,
that's what it is. I mean, if you saw the way that the way we started, right? This was like, I don't know. This is something that we always talked about. Was like, I hope we have that Wolf of Wall Street vibe. Remember
Yeah.
that, right? And it's crazy enough is that I've never shared that publicly, right? I think just between us and the team, where we were just like, that's the vibe that we were trying to be on. I don't know about now, but that was kind of what it was just like, you have young guys who are hungry. And so what's crazy is every time we have people over or they come by to visit the office, they sit there and be like, this reminds me of Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
And every time they say that, I think of like that conversation.
And without even saying it.
Yeah, like, without saying it. But I've said this before too, but yeah, 2019, the company made $8,603. $8,603 top
in a year.
Yeah, top line. That was gross. That was before anything. And during that time to now, we've made, a good amount more, where I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of times where, I've drove miles, hundreds of miles for people to say no. There's a lot of times where I thought this is it. This is what's going to like change everything for us. It wasn't it. There's a lot of times where, you make thousands of calls and they all say no. But I think the one thing that obviously is the reason why we're here is because we kept going. It's the same reason, like what Dom said, he recently went through something where, something we learned recently, right? It's you have the ability to respond, right?
Yeah.
And you can choose to respond to any situation in a way where it'll affect you negatively, or you can choose to respond to that situation in a way where you could grow from it. And obviously you chose the latter, and that's why you're still here. But that's what I'm hoping that we can kind of show, that whatever it is that you think you see publicly or to the eye or in social media may not be what it is, right? And so I want you to keep that in mind, because there's a lot of there are times where I make big purchases, and I was telling him, Dom, like I had an anxiety attack 2 days ago, and same thing anytime, like we'll talk about it, but
yeah,
that's kind of what I'm trying to show is like the raw side of being an entrepreneur, right? The times where you don't want to fucking wake up, the times where I guess the real life day to day of like, damn, I don't want to be here, but talk about why I'm still here, right? And yeah, so I'm excited for it to drop. I'm excited for you to hear our guests, because there's a couple, even Mario was like, damn, it's fire. But yeah, that's where we're at. So
yeah, I mean, stay tuned. Like I said, you guys are gonna see a lot of people on here. I feel like we're gonna have more one-on-ones as well too. I was thinking about it the other day, where sometimes we're just gonna share information of, maybe if our editor and the, I don't know how you want to say it, like audio. His name's Mario. if he's here, if he can come and we have an idea or we want to talk about something, we're just gonna come in, we're gonna record it, and we're gonna send it out to you guys. Just because a lot of stuff that we go through, like I was just thinking in the shower the other day of like, like Fed Now and like all the stuff that's coming out and stuff like that. It'd be great for us to just give our own opinions of like what's happening and stuff. But we're gonna have a lot of guests on here as well, and you're gonna hear more of our stories, more of our personal stuff, more of his personal stuff. And if we have a lesson learned, we're like, fuck, we made the wrong decision, this is what we should have done, we're gonna tell you first. There's gonna be people on here that are also in the stock market. You're gonna hear their fuck ups and where they came from and how they became successful in the stock market. We have real estate agents that are gonna be on here, and they're gonna teach you a couple of things about that field. We have financial advisors, a lot of people, fitness industry. Now he's in the jewelry industry. A lot of things that are gonna come into play. I'm also gonna be on some influencers, so you can see what it's like on the other side of the camera, because obviously, as Alex mentioned right now, that social media is just, a facade. Whatever they post is what they want you to see. So always keep that in mind. I know a lot of big influencers that don't have any money or don't have anything behind them, So that's what we want to create, and that's what this podcast is going to be about. And that's it.
Yeah.
Whether if you guys like it or don't, if you can, hit
Share
a
it.
like, share it, comment. We'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Thank you.